Hi, thanks for joining me today. It's Geraldine from the Paper Puffin Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make these trifold cards. For this one, I chose a happy birthday theme, and it opens like this. And this is the Christmas one that I'm going to show you today. I hope you enjoy this video. If you do, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get started. Let's begin by reviewing all of the pieces that you're going to need to build this card. You'll need a piece of your base color measuring 5 3/4 by 8 1/2 inches, and another piece of that same color measuring 5 3/4 by 4 5/8. You'll need a coordinating cardstock, and for that you'll need 2 pieces, each measuring 1 7/8 by 3 inches. You'll need 2 measuring 1 7/8 by 5 1/2 inches, and 4 measuring 1 7/8 by 1 inch. You'll also need another larger piece of that same coordinating cardstock measuring 4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. You'll need another piece of cardstock. I'm choosing vanilla, but you could have white. And this piece is 3 7/8 by 5 3/8. You'll also need designer series paper. So you'll need 2 pieces, each measuring 1 3/4 by 5 3/8. You'll need 2 pieces measuring 1 3/4 by 2 7/8. And then I have another coordinating designer series paper, 4 pieces, each measuring 1 3/4 by 7/8 of an inch. Now we're ready to do some scoring. So I'm going to take the smaller piece of my base color and I'm going to line it up with the shorter edge along the top of my trimmer. I'm going to line it up at 4 1/4 inches, and I'm going to score all the way from the top to the bottom. I'll set that aside, and now I'll take my larger piece of my base color. I'm now going to score this at 3 places. Lining it up with the longer edge along the top of my trimmer, I'm going to score at 2 1/8, slide it over to 4 1/4, and then one more time, this time at 6 3/8. And that's the scoring. Now I'm ready to do some cutting of this base piece. So remember, I have 3 score lines. I'm going to be lining up the short edge at the top of the trimmer and lining up this right side of my paper at 1 1/4 inches. I'm going to be cutting from the first score line to the last score line. So lining up my paper at 1 1/4 inch on the right hand side, I'm taking my cutting blade and I'm going to be lining that up at 2 1/8 of an inch, which is at the first score line. I then will cut down to 6 3/8 of an inch. Now I'm going to flip my paper around and I'm going to do the exact same thing again, lining it up on the right hand side with 1 1/4 inches and cutting from the first score line at 2 1/8 of an inch down to the last score line at 6 3/8 of an inch. And this is what it will look like. I'm now ready to fold and burnish. Now for folding and burnish the larger piece, I've got my paper situated like this with the 2 cut lines here. I'm going to be folding this first score line as a mountain and this last score line as a mountain. As I do that, you will see that this center piece folds out naturally. So I will go ahead and burnish those edges. I also will just go underneath here and burnish those. So this is what this piece looks like. Now I'm going to take this other piece of my base color, and I did a score line here. I'm going to be folding and burnishing along that edge as well. And now I'm going to put some tear and tape right along the edge right here, and I'll speed that portion up for you. Now with my tear and tape here and ready to go, I'm going to attach this piece of paper to this piece of paper. And how I'll do that is I will line up the paper like this, and usually what I do is I stand the paper up on a surface, but just so I can show you here, it's going to get attached just like this. So that when you open up the card, now it opens all the way like that. The next step will be to attach my designer series paper to the coordinating cardstock. So all the designer series paper will get attached like this. I'll go ahead and do all of that and then pick up there. Now that all of the designer series paper has been attached to the coordinating cardstock, I'm ready to attach all of these pieces to the base of the card. So these will all get attached in these positions. The longer strips will get attached in these two places. These shorter strips will get attached here, and then these very small pieces will get attached like so. I'll go ahead and attach all of those pieces and we'll pick up there. I've got the image and the sentiment stamped. I colored the image and I cut it out using the die cut from the Stitched Shapes Framelits, which is the oval. And then I cut out this using the Layering Ovals dies. That's going to be the background. I'm going to be attaching these two together and popping them up on dimensionals to attach them to this front panel here. I'll also embellish with some little embellishments on here. I'll go ahead and do that. With this panel in place now, I've closed up my card so I can see where I want to place an image on the inside panel, one in this top corner and one down here. I'm going to be stamping those images on this piece of vanilla cardstock, which we cut earlier, and it will end up placed about right here. So just to give me an idea about where I want to place this image and this image, I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm just going to make a note, just ever so slightly, that I want to have my image within this space. I then will erase those pencil lines after. I'm going to go ahead and stamp some images for these two areas of the card, and we'll pick up there. All of the images that I've chosen for the inside portion of this card are coming from Rustic Retreat. I chose to use this image and stamp it here in Mossy Meadow ink, and this image here again in Mossy Meadow. The sentiment is stamped in Memento Tuxedo Black. I'm now going to attach this piece to the coordinating cardstock and then attach these two panels to the inside portion of the card. So here is the finished card. You can see that it opens like this and stands up nicely for display. I've made another one as well with a birthday theme, and here it is. So for this one I used the Gangs All Mirror images, and when you open it, it looks like that. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.